Greetings gamers, welcome to part number 46 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 9, Path of Radiance. In today's episode, I'm going to be meeting some of Princess Elincia's best friends, and getting closer acquainted to the warriors of Crimea, as I step ever closer to unraveling his plot, and what exactly he is planning throughout this entire war.
Princess Elincia seems to be having a wonderful time. She's been smiling and laughing for hours.
It seems she and Lucia grew up together. She feels completely at ease around her. The princess seemed to be of good cheer when she was with us as well, but I suppose she was putting on a brave face.
When I see her in this light, I'm reminded that she is still only a young woman. What we see now is the princess, as she was before Dayan's attack. That is the true Princess Elincia.
It's good to be home, isn't it? We've still many battles ahead. But for tonight, we should relax and let ourselves forget our cares. No one can continue under this much stress forever, right?
I suppose you're right.
Yep. Report 2 new units, one greater than the other, to be sure. Thank you for your daily report, Soren.
Ah, Ike, there, hiding in the shadows of that tent. Grab him.
Huh? What? Hey, ouch. Come on, you gotta let me go.
Stop whining, you little baby. Get over here. You spineless sop. You never learn, do you?
What's going on?
Listen to this, Ike. While I was changing my clothes, my dear brother here tried stealing from my purse again.
Don't do this here. You don't need to tell the whole camp about it, do you?
Who created this situation in the first place, and here I was thinking that you'd finally turned yourself around. Even as we speak, Mother is at home weeping in her soup, you chowderhead.
Don't worry about Mom. Dad's there to take care of her.
You brainless eunuch. Gah!
Marcia, ow, my foot. You're crushing it. I'd heard something crunch. Help, I'm being crippled.
And no one cares.
You are right. A bad man being crippled. Oh well. All right. I think that's enough.
Huh. It's one thing that you're a guppy-brained lout, but it's worse than that you never ever change. You're always being chased by thugs, and I always have to go looking for you. Do you have any idea how much I worry? Would it hurt you to think of others once in a while? You're my older brother, remember?
Marcia, I'm sorry. I'll give up gambling. I'll work hard and repay all of my debts. Please, you've got to believe me. Why not forgive him? He's the only brother you've got, right?
Well, if Ike insists.
Really? Do you forgive me?
Only if you keep your word. This is the absolute last time.
I swear on Dad's grave.
That's not going to work, you twit. Dad's still alive.
Major laugh. About time, too. Straighten up and don't trouble your sister anymore. Say, Marcia.
What is it, Makalov?
You want to bet on how long I can keep my promise? I'll give you 4-to-1 odds.
Ah!
Alright. Tormod can finally reach his A rank with Devdan.
Ah!
Don't sigh, Tormod. It will only make you more depressed.
Oh, hello, Devdan.
So Devdan did not startle you. That's a bit of a letdown.
It's just not fair. It's like you were born with a lance in your hand. How can I compete with that?
Don't be so hard on yourself. You've got a lot of talent, Tormod.
Please don't flatter me. I know how it really is. Maybe I'm not cut out for magic.
Everyone has a tough time learning.
Maybe I'm just not any good.
Learning something new takes patience. If you're always in a rush to get better, you'll overlook important lessons.
Important lessons?
Think back on the first time you used magic. How did you feel?
How did I feel? I was happy and excited. I'd never felt anything like it.
Devdan knows that it felt good when you started making progress in your training, right?
Yes, it was fun.
Why do you think that was?
I was happy because I was getting stronger. I had the power to protect people.
Never forget how that felt. Keep that attitude and you'll continue to improve.
Thanks, Dev Dan. You're always teaching me something important.
It is DevDan's responsibility to pass on knowledge to the next generation. And you know what? You give DevDan something in return too.
I do?
Hope. There's always something worth fighting for. That was a very unique and interesting support. I've actually never gone through Tormod and DevDan support because most of the times I use Tormod, I don't use DevDan and vice versa. That's very interesting. I feel compelled to want to teach people the next generation, so on and so forth, good gaming, good intelligence, good lifestyles, good mindsets, good morality. It is one of the many reasons why I decided to make a gaming channel, was because I wanted to show that there is still wholesome gaming out there, that you can still have fun, even if it is older gaming. Like, for instance, most of the games I've played on my channel are not new games. And some folks will look at that and like, oh, you're not riding the wave. Well, I do still play newer stuff. It's just that I don't ever find the same joy out of that stuff as I do the old stuff. Reason being is because the old stuff is typically better. It has those wonderful and what I would dare declare amazing attributes to them that allow me to say, well, yeah, this is wholesome. This is great. I love these games. They bring me a kind of happiness and joy. And it does give me a little bit of hope that maybe good games can still be made. When I saw Smash Ultimate made, and there were no political agendas attached to that game, not even in the DLC, nothing was there that could possibly deter me from liking that game. I immediately was just like, you know what? Gaming can still be decent. And that's what I want to pass on. I want people to have a place where they can come and enjoy good company with good folk and good games without necessarily the evil and ignorance of the modern day thinking. With that being said, however, it is time for me to go off on my own, as I have a little bit of preparing to do before I get on to the next part of this episode. I'll see you in a few. And I have finished with most of the preparations, except for one specific thing. I would actually like to forge Ike a quite powerful weapon here. I don't think it needs that much hit. Yes. So this is going to be particularly for boss slaying. I'm going to be naming it the Noble. And yes, I think a good regal gold shall be good. So I did mention earlier this series that I wasn't really going to be making any further forges. I do still kind of stand by that. I'm not going to be making too many more forges because right now, as is very noticeable, a lot of silver weapons can be purchased. Now, granted, silver swords cannot be. It's one of the reasons why I decided I was going to splurge on a silver sword forge. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to buy an extra elf thunder or two. Perfect. I don't think I'm going to need any more than those two for the rest of the time. In fact, Tormod, once he's done with said, I'm going to be throwing Thoron into his his inventory. And then he will just, get more elf thunders upon using that elf thunder. Bolting is going to come very much so in handy. However, I did want to make him something like this because, for one, Ike is kind of struggling a little bit with some of his necessary damage. Now, of course, it's not like he's weak or anything, but the problem is that this game's criticals are not like Thracia's. Effective weaponry is not like any of the triple mighted effective weaponry. So he has to rely on his base strength and, pure power prowess with his weapons in order to get anything done. Aether is not 100% reliable because if it doesn't proc, well, you can't rely on it. So I wanted to give him something that would allow him to do more damage to bosses in the case of my need. But with that being said, it is time to move on to Delbray Castle. Today's the happy day the princess returns, yet the blanker seems fit to bring rain. Calm rain is like a kiss upon the face, a scent and feel unparalleled and kind. Reunions and the rain are most heartfelt. Say, Bastion, how far do you suppose the princess and her escort have come? Why aren't they here yet? Listen, friend, you have asked me that same question 58 times, and I have responded 57 times. But now, 58 comes anon. You need to calm yourself. I know, but it's only a little while longer. Make no mistake, our princess will arrive today. I understand your impatience, I really do, but you're the general of our little army. If you act so, the men will react in kind. You're right. A true knight is the essence of composure. Take a deep breath. Breathe in and out. See, don't you feel better? Blast, it's no good. I'm going to go, check on stuff. What am I supposed to do with him? They're here. I see them. What? Really? That's them, isn't it? The princess's army? Where? Show me where you're looking. Jeffrey, that's not the princess. Those are Dayan troops. What? No. Please tell me you're joking. No, most definitely not joking. Once we cross the hills, we'll be in Delbray territory. Count Bastion went ahead of us, so they should know of your return by now. Speaking of which, here he comes now. I suppose he couldn't wait any longer, and came riding to meet you. How sweet. Princess Elincia, Lady Lucia. Bastion, there's no need for you to rush so. I'm coming in your direction anyway. We've been attacked. Castle Delbray is surrounded by enemy troops. No. It can't be. Jeffrey's acting as a decoy. You must continue on this road to the southwest. So the enemy's found us, eh? Nothing to do about it but change course. I'll lead you to another hiding place. Well, what are you saying, Lucia? We must help Jeffrey. Bastion? Luck was not with us, Princess. We have no choice. We'll have to abandon our companions in Castle Delbray. No, we will not. Jeffrey and the others have survived so much already. I will not abandon them. Princess, please understand. If we could do so without danger to you, we would gladly risk our lives to go back. We cannot do this. Please, Lucia. We must go to the castle Bastion. You must not do this thing. Jeffrey is a knight. In the name of our friend's honor, Princess, you must escape. No, they've survived this long. They're alive. No. General Ike, we don't have much time. While we stand here squabbling, Dayan scouts may spot our position. Please move the army southwest on this road. No. Pardon? What did you say? We're going to the castle. If it's surrounded by Dayan troops, we cut our way through and join the other knights. Understood? Weren't you listening? I said we have no choice but to leave them behind. They were lost to us the moment the enemy discovered and surrounded them. They're not so lost that we can't take them back. You are the general of Crimea's army, are you not? Even if only for the moment? I would hope that you would act more in accordance with your responsibilities. I didn't choose or ask to be general. I was put here by matters of time and circumstance. But as a mercenary, I have a contract with Princess Elincia that's still in effect. That means she's my employer. And right now, my employer says she wants to go and save the people stuck in that castle. Is that correct, Elincia? Yes, I don't want anyone else to be sacrificed. So we're going to help them. If you're so worried about the princess, I'll leave her here with you, and you can keep her safe. My Lord Ike. Until the princess's army is out of sight, we must not let the enemy spot them. Do what you must to draw their attention. Yes, sir! This is a lot of attention you must draw. They're coming into view. Combat formations. Okay, view map. So I was under the impression that this would be the final chapter in which fog would exist because of difficult mode. That is not at all looking to be the case, which is super unfortunate because what that means is that my torch with 5 uses still is going to go unused. Of course, I can sell it, as I said before, if there is no more, fog chapters. I don't need it. But this is the boss, Ricard, with his silver blade and short axe, and an elixir. I could steal that, and potentially that's not a bad idea, especially because you don't get very many elixirs in this game, and when you finally do get them, it's a hard choice between buying elixirs and buying physics and other things like that. He has parity, which cancels support, terrain, and skill bonuses, making units fight on ability alone. So, in my humble opinion, I think parity is a well-designed skill if used on enemies and enemies alone. Now, of course, it would be better if enemies had nihil in some mindset, but I actually don't agree, because this cancels support, terrain, and skill bonuses. So the support is very important. No enemies in this game have support bonuses. It's not like other games in the series where there are occasional instances where there's like dual party members or dual bosses, and they both support one another. Like, for instance, the Pain and Agony archetype that's in Fire Emblem 6, Fire Emblem 7, Fire Emblem 10. There's a couple others that I want to say Fire Emblem 8 too, but Kalash, or Kelek, yes, it's Kelek, and Valter do not support each other, and even though they're on the same map, they would never move, so that would never be in any kind of effect. So this is a skill that I think humbly works on bosses and other enemies. Like, for instance, they could throw parity on a bunch of enemy units, and I think that would be a great idea. But as you can see, I'm going to go through the entirety of the enemy's skill list. None of them have any skills. Granted, on difficult mode, towards the end of the game, a few of them might have some skills, especially in the final chapter. I'm pretty sure there's actually a couple of swords masters in that chapter who have skills, one having Astra, one having Adept, but that's not that great. Nihil is actually a wonderful skill for your units. Terrible for the enemies, especially if the enemies don't need the support, right? Or don't have the skills. Nihil is great on an enemy who's going to have a skill like Wrath or something of that nature, because parity cancels that. And this means on your own unit as well. This is why you're never going to see me use it, and why I humbly say that it's just not all that useful. I will be bringing Har, which does mean I'm going to have no smiters, but there's kind of nothing that can be done about that, in my humble opinion. Yes, you can go here. I actually think I kind of want... well, you're going to go in the way back, because I don't need you for the time. This chapter is very interesting, because you do not, under any circumstances, want to stay in the back, in the rear, and turtle up. And you don't want to leave any of your teammates in the back as well. This chapter has a bit of a Galsus mechanic to it. And with that being said, it is time for me to begin this chapter.
These climbing refugees are no easy meat, and there are more of them than I expected. General Ricard, enemy reinforcements are approaching from the east.
What?
It appears to be the troops from Princess Crimea's army. The army that brushed aside our troops in Dane and defeated General Patrine at the Riven Bridge. They're marching toward us. Fantastic. I was getting bored hunting stragglers. Let's smash all of these curs and wrap ourselves in glory.
General Jeffrey, it's the Crimean army. Princess Elincia's army is headed this way.
Fools! What are you thinking, Bastion? Oh, Princess, it's not too late. Please take wing and flee. Our goal is to rescue those knights near the castle. Attack. So this chapter is interesting in the fact that it has a couple of ballista here, there, and here. This ballista is not going to really come into effect much with my units because I'm actually going to be... Well, I was thinking about flying over with Har and just taking it out, dealing with like the boss and whatnot. I actually don't think that Har is a good unit to fight Ricard. What I'm going to be doing is getting Turonio as far up as possible so that he can deal with Ricard. Killing Edge, Brave Sword. I'm going to use the Brave Sword because you need to be destroyed. Perfect. Because Volk is not useful for this point in said chapter, I think it's a very good idea to use him for some shoving, especially because I'm missing out on my wonderful... Oh, that was interesting. I did not know you could angle that like that when you only had that movement. I'm missing out on my wonderful smiting units. Alright. In the way. I'm not leaving him in the way, though. I'm actually shoving him back one more. That seems counterproductive, but there is good reason. Alright. I do have some units up here that I want to take care of. I'm pretty sure that Titania and Mist can deal with this. And yes. Well, Titania would have been great if you got a crit at the first, but can't complain. You did finish off the enemy. At the very least, that's what you did. Hammern. I kind of should have brought that. Did I bring that on any of my other units? No, I did not. Well, in that case, I do have to be very careful with the Sonic Sword, because I do absolutely not want it to be destroyed. So I am going to be taking a strike force of units to the north. That is going to most likely consist of Mist, as well as Titania, Devdan, and Stefan, whereas the rest of my units are going to go west. Now, I did replace Mist Physic with a newer, less used one, so that she will have the capacity to heal up any of my units pretty much anywhere. So hopefully that works out just fine. 18 times 2. Yeah, it is unfortunate that Turonio does have such lackluster speed. You would almost think that it would be a great idea for me to use something along the lines of a speed wing on him. But I actually think that it's just better not to use such on him and use it for another character later on, because even though, yes, using your... So this is a bit of a I want to say a failing that a lot of Fire Emblem players do, is they hoard their possessions. So you don't want to do that, because in retrospect, Fire Emblem is not a continuously playable game. You're playing a playthrough, and that playthrough will finish at some point. Yes, you can start up anew, but you don't bring any stuff over with you. Of course, this was somewhat changed with the fact that some games have New Game Plus, right? That doesn't matter for these old games. So with that in mind, and do keep this in mind, you want to use your stat boosters actually as early as you possibly can, because the earlier you use it, the more you're getting out of it. So using the Speed Wing on Turonio would allow him to double sooner, which would be great
and would allow him to effectively be a better and more useful unit, rather than waiting on another unit to have it. This is totally true, 100% granted. The problem is that the unit that I'm going to be using it on is large and by far one of the weakest units that joins your party in Path of Radiance at the time that she joins. I'm going to be favoring her quite a bit. I've even decided to give her some skill combinations that I find are going to be pretty hilarious. It's going to make her relatively very competent concerning combat, which is awesome. So yes, I do fully understand that it would technically be better to give Tyronio those stat boosters now. Depending on her speed, because I don't particularly remember her bases, I might end up giving Tyronio a speed wing also, and just giving her one. I'm pretty sure I have two. And if that's the case, then great, but I don't want to make any kind of assertions without fully, understanding what I'm doing for my units. Tyronio doesn't truly need a speed wing. Even at base speed, he still has 19 speed upon activation of Resolve. Right now, he has 21, which is pretty exceptional. That's not like world-beating speed, but it is enough that it's going to make a difference.
Lucia, Bastion, are you sure you want to do this?
The words of Ike ring yet on in my ears.
We were so trapped by our own ideas that we were unable to sympathize with your feelings. I'm terribly sorry. Because of the two of you think to put me above all else, you say you will sacrifice your lives for me. Yet, even if I'm able to borrow Ike's strength and win back Crimea, if the cost of that victory is the lives of the two of you, I shall never smile again. And joy? Never again would that emotion fill my heart. Princess Elincia. Please aid Ike and rescue Jeffrey and the others. Then return to me. Come back alive.
For you, we would the world itself depart.
We'll be back.
So yes, I get two brand spanking new units, Bastion and Lucia. Before I go on talking about them, I do want to mention one thing very important. That little conversation with Princess Elincia, which she is no longer in view, is a hint. You do not want to lose Lucia, Bastion, or Jeffrey. If any of these three die before Elincia joins, spoiler, you lose out on potentially the most important thing that Elincia has to offer. At least combat-wise. I would say that. That's not fully true because Elincia is also a good user of the weapons that Mist can use. The good old swords and whatnot. Sonic Sword and Rune Sword, but Mist is just a better user of it, bar none. Okay. Vague Kati. See, Stefan, it would be very nice if you actually crit on the first hit with 58 freaking crit. You'd be a great candidate for Gamble, that's for sure. Sonic Sword. Yes, I do have to be exceptionally careful with this. Because, and see, this is something I know I bring up Thracia a lot. And I know a lot of you are probably getting tired of it. But I do love Thracia. There's nothing I can say about it otherwise. I love that game. And one of the things that I cannot believe this game doesn't have, but that game does, is the fact that in Thracia, when a weapon breaks, it becomes a broken weapon. Okay? Why is that important? When a weapon breaks in this game, it disappears forever. That's why it's important. Alright, Defender. Yep, let's go ahead and use the defender. And which of these guys? So, I can smite you. I actually think I'm just going to go ahead and use up my Sed. No reason to particularly keep it. I have Thoron, I have Elthunders. Tormod doesn't actually need a forged tome anymore because he has become that strong. Of course, his magic is kind of lacking, but because of the fact that most units in this game don't have high resistance, it's actually not really that big of a deal. And I think I am going to just smite you with one hit of the marked. I have to be very careful. So there is Ballista, correct? You have to be very careful where you put Racin. Of course, Har is in the way, but he has a full guard. And one shot of good old marked. He only has one use of that left, which is unfortunate. I'm going to miss that bow. But moving on to bigger and better things. And yes. So these guys are all in the way back. And I'm going to be moving them up with my units, particularly probably one up to the north and one to the west. Yeah, I don't think it is consistently reliable to use Shinon or Tyronio to block said ballista fire from these guys to protect Racin. Keep that in mind. Do keep that in mind. Interesting that he's attacking Tyronio. Very intriguing. I'm also very glad that they're doing damage to him. Appreciated most. Wow, you missed, Titania? Are you kidding? Very good follow-up. Wouldn't have mattered if she didn't kill or not, but very incredible that she actually missed. Yes, only a little bit more damage, and Tyronio will be at the point at which he is in Resolve. When that man reaches Resolve, there is a whole new kind of beautiful unleashed upon this world. And then, wonderfully, I have to wait through the other phase. This is one of the reasons why a lot of folks do not like Radiant Dawn or Path of Radiance, is because even with animations off, the phases take forever. And the part of the reason why that is because the attack animations, even the overworld animations, are still longer than they need to be. Granted, some people have theorized that this is because the GameCube wasn't powerful enough to have faster animations. I don't agree with this. I could not possibly agree with this. The GameCube plays and runs marginally much better graphically intense games. So I'm not entirely of the mind that I agree with that. A bunch of reinforcements everywhere, including from the rear. Be very mindful and careful of this. In fact, one of the only times you ever see an enemy berserker in Path of Radiance. However, with that being said, this is the end of my episode. I do want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe depending on your platform. And while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.